I'd like to call this October 8th, 2020 regular Board of Education meeting to order. Mr. Anagnostou, would you take the roll?
Here.
Here?
Here.
All present, would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is district goals. Our three district goals are student achievement and growth, financial prudence, and community engagement. And as always, our meetings will be challenged by those goals and we will respond to them. Next is public comment. I have two. Scott Storm, you're first.
Scott Storm, 14111, Wilma Drive, Strongsville, Ohio, 44136. Good evening to the Board of Education, Assistant Superintendent Jenny Pelko. I just have same old. The word community contains within it two Latin roots, com and unity, which translate literally in English to mean together with unity. All people within the community, the elderly, those without children, those with children, those whose children are now grown adults, in short, all citizens within our community pay taxes in a unified effort to provide equal resources for all students enrolled in public schools. This is done with the expectation that education will prepare the next generation with the knowledge and skills necessary to be prepared to properly participate as fellow citizens in the community and together make it even better. The citizens have an expectation that you, the Board of Education, sees to it that their unified sacrifice of tax money for the public schools provide an unified, equal distribution of resources to all students. Our community expects you to use those funds equally for the common benefit of all students with the district. To be clear, in class K through 5, students have dedicated teachers, then so should remote students. You have not been fair and responsible to our community of citizens. You have flowery, pretty district goals that speak of it, but your actions are contrary to that which you, at least on paper, aspire to. You have broken the underlying trust of the unified community and appropriated the district's most valuable resource of its teachers for the in-class students and have endorsed the superintendent's shams of Solo and Solo 2.0 on the premise of a learning evolution. By not providing teachers, you have created the haves and the have-nots. If you believe that the evolutionary learning approach that is being thrust upon the minority is such a good idea, then why don't you try the superintendent's idea of a teacherless program with the students in the buildings? Maybe the parents of those children would think that removing, as in Solo, or diminishing, as in Solo 2.0, the teachers from their child's learning process is a good idea. Which one of you, with 2 children, will feed one and starve the other? Which one of you will save $20,000 for one child's education and none for the other? Which one of you would permit and facilitate your hired caretaker to deprive any one of your children of your most important, valuable assets? Then why is it you have endorsed the discriminatory Solo and Solo 2.0 programs? I first spoke here almost a month ago, and still you languish, allowing the superintendent to drive inequality in our community. I brought you a petition Each of you received 432 emails petitioning these things, and you've disregarded it and made attempt to promote focus groups to last over a month. Close to, a little less, I apologize. People have spoken via calls, texts, emails, in-person meetings, and before you here, only to be ignored. We thought that at least you could maintain the level of learning provided in Remote 2.0 for the students. Instead, you continue in weak, the un-American majority versus minority ideology of our day that divides the care of our government for ourselves as a people rather than maintaining our pledge of one nation, under God, indivisible. You are defending and enabling the discriminatory disbursement of public resources because of politics and personal agendas. For the majority, when you should be heeding your high, noble call of a public fiduciary of the community and readily and equally provide teachers in order to maintain the integrity of the learning experience for every student in our district. It is not that you are not able to or there isn't a solution. You can change. You can do this. Other communities are doing this. They are no better or different than we are. The students, their families, and the community need you to change now and provide dedicated teachers for our K through 5 students and remoting capability for 6 through 12. Be accountable. Take responsibility. Do what is right for the students, their families, and the community, and rebuilding trust by doing whatever it takes as a board to provide dedicated Strongsville teachers, not only long-term substitutes for the K through 5 students. Just this week, Berea City Schools implemented the changes necessary to provide a designated teacher for their district for their K through 5 students. They were able to work with their teachers union to find the solution. Mentor is about the 5th largest school in the state, and they are successfully having their remote students from the upper grades remote into their classrooms. If you don't know how to do it, then pick up the phone and talk to people in other districts. Get help, like from Mentor, Barberton, Berea, that have set a good example for our board and superintendent of what it means to be a community, together in unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. As I've said before, we usually consider public comment a time to listen. The only response I will have is we do all have a personal agenda, and that is to do what is the best we can for our city. That's all I'm going to say. Next is Vanessa Smith, Whitford.
Can't read it. The glasses are on. Sorry. My name is Vanessa Smith Whitford. I live at 18249 Meadow Lane in Strongsville. Thank you to the board for listening to me. I have an 8th grade student at SMS and a 4th grade student at Muraski Elementary. I've been actively involved in PTA in the district since 2012 when my oldest child began school. I served on the levy committee and on the Continuing the Excellence Committee to support the district and its goals of excellence in education. I'm here today to discuss with you concerns I have regarding the insufficient educational opportunity that is being executed in your Solo 1.0 and 2.0 options for families and students. My students are currently enrolled in Solo 2.0, which means they have access to the Strongsville curriculum and Strongsville teachers, but both in very different ways. I chose to allow my middle schooler to stay in his honors classes. A switch from his honors curriculum to Edgenuity and Edmentum would have meant no honors level courses, and he would have begun that program 6 weeks behind. My 8th grade honors student has no access to live instruction, but he does have access to the curriculum, and recorded video lessons. In the first 2 weeks of solo, he has received a total of 77 minutes of teacher-recorded instruction to go along with the curriculum. That's approximately 8 minutes per day. I also reached out to someone who's currently enrolled in Edgenuity, and their instruction time is approximately 60 minutes per day, which is 15 minutes per subject. The approximate average middle school student teacher engagement time for core classes is about 120 minutes, which means my honor student is getting 6% of engagement time of the in-person learners. Edgenuity students are getting 50% of that time. In the first 2 weeks of Solo 2.0, my 4th grade daughter has had 210 minutes of live instruction, along with 63 minutes of additional recorded instruction, for a total of 273 minutes of teacher-led instruction. That's about 54 minutes per day. In an effort to compare the other solo option, I reached out to those parents as well. Those students average about 40 minutes of recorded instruction per day, approximately 10 minutes per subject. The average student-teacher engagement time in elementary school for core subjects is 285 minutes per day, which means Solo 2.0 students are getting 18% of engagement time that in-person learners are getting, and Solo 1.0 students are getting 14%. On top of that, the 4th grade teachers are middle school teachers that are not familiar with her curriculum. As a matter of fact, the math teacher still does not have a log-on for the online portion of her curriculum. My daughter's previous math teacher was assigning online assignments from this curriculum prior to switching to Solo. This is no way the fault of the teacher. This is a direct result of the administration having to use middle school teachers to teach elementary school students. I bring this information to the board and the superintendent because I want you to understand exactly why parents that have opted for the Solo program are so disappointed and so frustrated. We choose to live in Strongsville. We support the district with our tax dollars. And in most cases, we are getting less than 20% of the educational opportunities that in-person learners are receiving. I want to be very clear. My frustration with these options do not rest with the teachers and staff who are working to execute them. They are extremely dedicated professionals who have been working hard to adapt and change in an effort to educate all of our students. I know they are putting in long hours and giving up essential daily planning time to further the education of those who are not able to return to in-person learning. What is evident to all the parents in the Solo program is that while conceived with good intentions, we are not being afforded an equitable educational opportunity. The administration and the board need to provide changes to this program so that all students in the district can be provided with the educational experience that we both expect and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate your time.
Richard, if I may, I'd like to motion to go into executive session to consider the employment or compensation of a public employee.
The motion is to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of public employees. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Anagnostou?
Yes.
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 Yes, and the motion carries. We will go into executive session at 7:15 PM. We do have every intention of returning for further business. Thank you. of our board meeting. Next on our agenda is number 6, Assistant Superintendent's Report. Mrs. Pelko.
Thank you, Mr. Micko. Just wanted to provide a few updates in regards to our restart plan. So, not sure what, oh, it's on freeze. There we go. So a few things I just want to reiterate. I know Dr. Ryba shared in his parent update this week on Monday, so a lot of the things that I'm going to share with you come from that. So if you want to refer back to that, feel free. But just want to remind everybody that our remote learning day is going to be on Friday, October 16th. And it is a remote learning day for all staff, or for all students, K through 12, and it will be a professional learning day for all of our staff. That includes everybody, that it will be a work day. So just as a reminder, preschool didn't have school on Friday, and our middle school students and our high school students already had a remote learning day this day. So it really impacts our elementary K to 5 students. So this will be a day home where they will be provided asynchronous work, and to be logging into that. So the goal of the day really is what we talked about at our last meeting, to provide time. Time is the biggest thing that we're hearing, that our teachers need more time to really plan effective instruction and really implement some of the things that they learned about back before we started the school year. So we introduced them to many things about technology tools that they can use, and they've started to use some of them, but there's aspects and components of them that they could integrate in a deeper way. And so that's really the goal. A big part of the day is going to be then to how do we learn about it, and then how can we actually create something so that we can start using it on Monday. So to provide that collaborative time for departments, grade levels to work together, it's so beneficial, especially at the elementary level, for them to start to be all first grade, for example, all together, and be able to plan and think about, okay, what do we want to look at? How do we want to maybe adjust our curriculum a little bit? How do we want to pace this out? What are our power standards? Where are the gaps that we're seeing with our students? And to be able to have those conversations as a grade level, to work together to kind of divide up. Okay, well, I'm using this instructional strategy. Oh, well, that's great. I need something, so I'll use that. Explain that to me. So to have them have that time to work together is very beneficial. There has been some updates to some of our elementary programs like Lexia and Raz Kids that they need time to explore. And we've sent a survey out to our staff, so I'm not making this up. These are things that they're actually requesting. And then obviously we have our Google Classroom lessons going. We want to make sure that those continue for our students that possibly could be placed in quarantine or need to work at home for whatever reason, that they can go into those lessons, and those are continuing. So how do we enhance that? Google has come out with some more features. We want our teachers to be familiar with those. Creating instructional videos to post on those Google Classrooms sometimes takes some time. So that's another thing that they're going to be working on. And then finally, they've asked for more engagement strategies. This world is different now. How they're used to teaching in the classroom is different. Not being able to move around the classroom as often, not being able to get kids in groups, not being able to have those collaborative discussions. So what are some other strategies that I can implement in my classroom to make sure that my kids are engaged in the lesson? So those are the things that we've planned so far for October 16th. I'm still working on for staff. I know we have additional custodians coming on board for sanitization. We've bought more equipment, so there's going to be some training on that. Food services, again, we can always be training on different things. So we'll be implementing things with everybody. And just a note I have on here is that our early release days, as a reminder, for the 23rd and for March 26th will not take place. So just a reminder for our parents there. Any questions there before I go on? The next thing I want to talk about is our in-person and in-building learning. So again, Dr. Ryba announced that effective Monday, October 19th, we want to have all of our students at the middle school and high school return in person all days, all Monday through Friday. This will mark the beginning of the second quarter for them. And I want to commend Jessica Boytum, our principal at the middle school, and Bill Wingler, our principal at the high school, because they have worked diligently with their teams and all of our administration and teachers to make sure that we're successful on the 19th. I think the middle school and high school have done a phenomenal job. Our students have done a phenomenal job so far coming back. And so there's just some different things that they're preparing for, staggering the release times to decrease traffic. Anytime we can decrease traffic in the hallway is a good thing. However, again, I just want to remind people, passing somebody, we're wearing a mask, we're with them for a very short time. Again, that's very low risk. But again, we want to kind of limit that interaction and make sure kids are moving and getting to where they need to be. Lunchroom has been a big topic where they've tried their best to try to get the kids in the lunchroom, being, socially distant, but still being in that spot to get their food and all of that. And they've worked on that. There will be some times at the middle school where they may be in, a separate area, but that's going to be on rotation so that kids can eat in the lunchroom. It's not going to be, I have to eat in my classroom every single day. So we're working on that. And then the high school already has a plan where they're using the gym spaces to make sure that everybody has a place to eat. Classrooms and the amount of students in the classrooms has been a topic. And they both have gone through each and every classroom to see how can we fit in the safest way possible. So most of the classrooms will be 5 feet apart. The students head to head will be 5 feet apart and socially distanced. There are some where it may be 4 feet. There are some where they're working together with the teachers to determine what is the best way to fit students into this classroom and to make sure that we are all safe. Some will be moved to other locations within the building. So I know at the high school, the little theater may be used, the library may be used. But again, the goal is comfort and making sure people feel comfortable within the classroom. If students need to go to another location and log into the Google Meet and see the teacher, that's going to be an option as well. And it's a great way to allow more students to possibly collaborate together. So again, working with the administration and teachers on this plan, I think we're going to see a lot of success, and we spent a lot of time working on that. They're already releasing kids in a staggered way as they leave the building at the end of the day. Not everybody just exits as we used to do. There are protective dividers. So those classes, as I just spoke about, that may not be 5 feet, 6 feet apart, there will be protective dividers available, especially in our computer labs. That seems to be an area where it's just difficult with the equipment in there. And so there will be dividers. Teachers have been so creative saying, you know what, I'm going to move this out so I can move 2 more desks in. So cabinets and bookshelves and those kinds of things have been removed so that, our priority is having kids in our classroom. Students moving in one direction on the right side of the hallway. There's directional signs now, telling kids where to go. And I've been at the high school, I've been at the middle school during these times, and they just do a great job. And then finally, there is sanitization of high-touch surfaces throughout the day. So doorknobs, door handles, railings. We've hired more custodians during the school day to address these things. Although sanitization is secondary, we want to make sure you're washing your hands, you're keeping your mask on, you're staying away as much as possible. Those are the things that are the most important. But again, we're sanitizing as well. So again, we look forward to welcoming all of our students back. The one thing I will say, I met with a group of teachers today at the high school, just phenomenal ideas they're having about engaging students. It was really refreshing to hear their conversation. But one of the things I think we all need to remember too is the social emotional learning of our secondary kids. They've had a lot of time at home, and coming back full time with their activities and everything going on, they mentioned that the students kind of like a little bit having a day in between where they can work on their work and get caught up. And now getting up every single day again, having to go through their day at school, having the homework. So that's just something they're thinking about. Do we need to assign all this work after school still? Maybe we need to take it easy a little bit on them as they readjust. So, as parents, as our teachers know, we just need to kind of give our students a little bit of a break and remember that mentally coming back with all of these kids, I'm sure they're going to be excited to see everybody, but we just need to keep that in mind as well. Anything there?
I just wanted to send out compliments to the high school and the middle school. We're looking forward to having them back to school 5 days a week. It is not in my mind, it is not a question of can we do things to make sure that nobody gets infected. It's doing things to make sure that when someone gets infected, we can respond appropriately. We've already had some infections. It's not reasonable to think that we're going to have 0 infections, but we do have the reasonable protections in place to minimize those infections, and when they do occur, we can be reasonable in how we respond to that, so that we can take care of the students who are sick, take care of the students who may or may not be sick but are in proximity, and ultimately not have to shut the entire school district down. So making sure we have that balance, and I think both Jessica and Bill have done a really nice job preparing for that.
Next, I want to talk about our solo focus groups that are coming up next week. I know Dr. Ryba, we've been getting the interest from the interest survey that was sent out on, I believe it was Monday. So just a couple things that I want to address, and we've had public comments regarding our solo program in general. We do have approximately 650 students in the program, which does represent 11% of our population. I just listed here for you how many in Lincoln Learning, so that was Solo 1.0, our original for students that went into that immediately. And then when we did come back in person, I'm just talking K-5, we had those parents that elected to sign their kids up for that Solo 2.0 program that was offered when we returned in person. And so, and then again, for our high school, middle school, high school, we have about 300 students in that program. So, when we look at that, we do have a significant number of our students that are participating in that program. So I just want to say that if you are interested in giving that feedback to us, because it is important that we hear you, that we understand, that we know what needs to be improved, how can we grow, how can we do better. I think we've always been open to feedback. And so those are going to be held next week for parents in either Solo 1.0, 2.0. We're getting that information, we're getting the topics, which is very helpful to help plan and guide those conversations. So I just want to let you know that is out there if you haven't completed the survey to do that.
So Jenny, I just wanted to add a few comments. I think it goes without saying our solo programs are a big concern, not just for the parents, not just for the students, but for the board, the administration, for the teachers. The Solo 2.0, we had never intended to have that program. It was a response to the situation at hand. Solo 1.0, the provider for that maxed out. I don't think anybody can plan every scenario, and in reality, we weren't able to plan every scenario. So we did what we thought was a thoughtful and best type of solution, but speaking candidly, we know that there are deficiencies in that situation. There seems to be a trend in the conversation that people are focus grouped out. And what I would suggest and what I would ask honestly is that people participate in it. As a board and as administration, we want to address the deficiencies. We also need to understand those deficiencies well. So participating in that focus group, I get it's another focus group, and I can respect and understand people saying, I've been to enough focus groups, I don't need to go to another one. But this one is important to us to help us understand the different scenarios. We are planning to be able to address the shortcomings in the Solo 2.0 program or the Solo 1.0 program for our elementary students. We are working on plans to address that to start at the second trimester, correct? And mine's a high schooler. I'm lucky I remember his calendar.
The end of I believe the end of the first trimester is November 13th, if that's correct. So if I hear what you're saying, then, we're going to hold the virtual focus groups next week.
Correct.
Get their feedback, get some information to help guide us toward
Right. What I want to say
decision.
clearly is we understand that we need to improve Solo 2.0. I don't think there's any debate on that. What we need to do is figure out the best way to do that, and we need the feedback, the honest feedback from parents on what's working. I'm assuming some things are working and we can improve on those, and what's deficient. I mean, ultimately, I think everyone or most people agree that in-person with a teacher is your best delivery model for learning. In a pandemic, not everyone can do that, so we're going to adjust and see how we can address that. But we do want to improve 2.0, and we're here to say we will improve 2.0. Please take part in the focus groups.
If I may, Rich?
Sure.
One of you is here, and I have talked to a number of you on the phone, and repeatedly the question has been, what can I do? What actual steps can I take? This is one. We have 35 or so people participating out of 300. We need that number to go up. We need to know that this isn't an isolated incident of dissatisfaction. We need those people there. We've heard from a number of you, but come to this, give us your specific feedback so we can see where the trends are. So if you could take that back and really encourage people to attend that focus group.
Thank you, Michelle. And I think what we want to be able to do is we want to improve it. We want to fix it, but we want to do it right. And we need that input and feedback to be able to craft that plan. Thank you.
So again, just so everybody's aware, if you're interested in signing up for the focus group, we definitely need you to fill out the survey, because through those emails are where we'll send the invitations with the date and time. I know Dr. Ryba shared a whole bunch of different dates and options, and people are saying that this will work or that'll work, so we need to know so we can divide up the groups and make sure that we can hear from everybody. So please make sure you fill that out, and then next week you'll get that invitation with your date and time of where to sign up. And they'll all be virtual through a Meet. Okay?
Jenny, would it be possible to send out that survey one more time?
Sure.
Just to make sure people that are listening tonight.
Yeah, it was in his parent update on Monday, but I can make sure we send that out tomorrow. Yep.
Thank you.
The next thing is, this one's an exciting one. It's called our Here Comes the Bus app. Hopefully you've heard of it through principal newsletters. I've seen it in a few of the newsletters and the flyer that's gone out. I know there were some questions on how do I get the code. So the code is there for you, and the principals have this flyer. They should have been sending it out, and that's in there. You need to put in the school code, and then as you sign up, you're going to put in your student ID, your student's ID number, which is their lunch code. Most of the kids know their lunch code, so if you say lunch code, they'll know what it is. But it's been kind of fun. I know when certain kids are getting home, because we've been beta testing it over the last 2 weeks, and I get the notifications every morning that, I think it's Delaney on mine, that Delaney's picked up and Delaney's on the way home, and it's just nice as I think a parent to know when that bus is going to be arriving and when it's almost at the bus stop. It's a really cool app. So I highly encourage you to download it, get it. You can do it on your smartphone, your tablet, your computer. It sends you, like I said, you can get notifications that come right across your phone. It sends you text messages or emails. It'll tell you where the bus is. We have our GPSs connected to it, so it'll give you real live time where it is. It'll tell you if the bus number's changed. So if your bus number had to be changed, it'll tell you what bus it's changed to. But again, you'll get those details, and it's secure. So, don't feel that once you push your student's code and it's on your phone, it's all secure. Nobody's going to be able to find your student and know what bus they ride. It's all personalized to you. So I know this is something that our parents have been asking for. When is this bus going to arrive, especially at the elementary level? Sometimes, unfortunately, we do have to do double runs, and sometimes kids are getting home later. So as a parent, if I know I'm meeting my child at that bus stop, it's nice to know when exactly I need to be there. And especially in the morning, sometimes it gets a little hectic, and that bus is on the way. That's very, very helpful. So again, the directions are here. It's pretty easy to sign up and go through it. But if you have any questions, reach out to your building principal. They can help you through it. and get you logged in. So again, this is gonna be rolling out, and so get the app going, and you'll get those notifications. And I believe that concludes my report.
Do you want to continue?
I can. All right. We have one item under curriculum for your consideration. We have the Apex Learning Digital Curriculum Solutions Client Agreement. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the client agreement between Apex Learning Digital Curriculum Solutions and the Strongsville City School District be approved as presented. Under C, Human Resources, I have the following items for your consideration. Under C1, abolishments of a non-certificated staff members. Under C2, resignation of a non-certificated staff member. Under C3, a retirement of a certificated staff member. This is Deborah Zudell-Dickey, our music teacher at Maraski. This was a really difficult decision, and Cameron and I went over and saw her on her last day, and she went around to each classroom to say goodbye to the kids, and we just wish her all the best. We already have a sub assigned, so we're all set there. But again, normally we would congratulate her at the end of the year, but she has elected to retire early. Under C4, appointment of a certificated staff member. Continuing under C4, appointments for non-certificated staff members. Appointments of certificated substitutes. Appointments for our resident educator mentors. Appointments for certificated supplemental contracts prorated. Appointments for non-certificated supplemental contracts prorated. Under C5, educational upgrades for our certificated staff. Under C6, changes in full-time equivalents for certificated staff. Under C7, changes in status for non-certificated staff. Under C8, a supplemental lump sum payment for a certificated staff member. And finally, under C9, we have an unpaid leave for a certificated staff member. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jenny. Next on our agenda is the consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of the consent calendar means that all items appearing in this agenda with asterisks are adopted by a single motion unless someone requests otherwise. Do I have any requests? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Roberts, second by Mrs. Hausum. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Anagnostou.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries. Next is Board of Education Other. We have a board member training. Be it resolved that the Strongsville City School Board of Education grants approval for Sherry Buckner Salee to attend the virtual School Update Seminar consisting of 3 webinars on October 8th, 15th, and 22nd. The cost to register is $25. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Roberts, second by Mrs. Hausum. Any discussion? I just want to compliment Mrs. Buckner once again for taking the time, which is, in my opinion, the most valuable expense, is taking the time to attend these webinars and get herself informed. And she has already told us that she will send us a short update so that we can learn from everything that she's learned without putting in all the time. So the Cliff Notes version of the virtual seminar. Hearing no other discussion, Mr. Anagnostou.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, and the motion carries. I do not believe we have reason for another executive session, so we will strike that from that portion of the agenda. At this point, we have adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Roberts, second by Mrs. Hausum. Any discussion? Hearing none. George?
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum,
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mr. Miko.
Yes, the motion carries, and we are adjourned at 9:27 p.m. Thank you for your attention, and if you are a solo parent, please sign up for the virtual conferences. Thank you.